And we're back for episode 7, and thankfully we are given no time in Braavos and very little time in Loras' birthmark. We start out at the wall, where everyone's staring. Hey guys, let's stare over there. Hey, we're gonna stare as well. Well, I'm gonna stare at you. Well then, I'm gonna nod at you. Well, I'm gonna stare back at him then. And I'm gonna stare at that guy over there. Well, I'm just gonna stare back. My fucking god, the sexual tension. Well, anyway, Jon tells Alliser that he's going to leave the book plot, and Alliser says that's a really bad idea. Ah well, we shall see. Anyway, Sam comes to say goodbye and gives Jon some dragon glass. Shouldn't Jon have already packed this? Hey, I'm ready for my trip to Burkina Faso. Oh, I got something for you. It's malaria medication. Oh, thanks. I never even thought of that. And the odds of Ollie stabbing Jon have jumped up to 500 to 1. So Gilly's baby gets to meet Aemon. How is this still a baby? She gave birth in season 3. And Aemon tells Gilly and Sam to go south. I'm with you, Aemon. I'm with you. Meanwhile in Winterfell, a very bruised up Sansa begs Theon to help her. She tells him that he's Theon fucking Greyjoy and tries to get him all pumped up. Interestingly, according to Sansa, Balon Greyjoy is still Lord of the Iron Isles. She doesn't know about Gilbert. Gilbert King! Anyway, Theon tells Ramsay, and we all groan. Meanwhile, Brienne still exists. Meanwhile, on the wall, Aemon dies. And the Night's Watch proceeds to burn up a whole lot of King's blood. I sure hope somebody doesn't need King's blood later, because that would be a big frickin' oversight. So back in Winterfell, Ramsay is giving Sansa needless exposition about the war. And Sansa, out of nowhere, starts taunting Ramsay. She even calls Ramsay a bastard. Ah, stop it, Sansa. You're gonna get yourself flayed. And speaking of flayed, here's Grandma Winterfell. Well, I guess I read Grandma Winterfell wrong. I figured Miranda showing up at the same time that Sansa checked out the tower was intentional, but it turns out it was just a coincidence. Over in Stannis' camp, people are not doing well. It might be from the lack of hats. Davos lets Stannis know that a bunch of horses died and the Stormcrows have abandoned them. I wonder if these Stormcrows have a Daario as well. And maybe that Daario is Benjen. So Davos tells Stannis to retreat and Stannis says, nah-uh. And so Melisandre comes up with a great idea. She says, hey, we need King's blood. Let's sacrifice your daughter. Wah, wah. If only they had remembered Maester Aemon. Back on the wall, Gilly has attracted some unwanted attention. Unsurprisingly, Gilly isn't safe around convicted rapists. Sam gets his ass kicked, but then stands back up and says, hey, get your hands off her. But it's really Ghost that saves everyone in the end. But I have to ask, why is Ghost still at the wall? Why didn't Jon take Ghost with him? Would the Night's Watch really feel safe allowing a direwolf without its master walking around? Seems awfully unlikely. Anyway, it all leads to Gilly giving Sam some lovin'. Because if there's one thing I've learned from A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones, it's that the reward for preventing rape is sex. Anyway, let's enjoy this scene for a bit. Ah, Sam. Over in Slaver's Bay, we have slavers by the bay, and Tyrion is getting whipped for no discernible reason. So in A Game of Thrones, Jorah is a lot more valuable than in A Song of Ice and Fire. I happen to really like this scene, it's pretty cute. Conflating Jorah with Thoros of Myr on the island of Spike is pretty damn funny. Very weirdly, rather than proving himself with his mind, Tyrion proves himself with his brawn. We flash over to Daenerys and Daario, who is trying to fill her mind with evil thoughts. I will grant that show Daario is much more realistic than book Daario. Show Daario's nice guy voice lets him get away with all of these evil thoughts. Book Daario, with his constant abrasive attitude and flamboyant look, always comes off as a sleazebag. I'll grant that I can buy this Daario seducing Daenerys. Next we get this delightful scene between the QOT and the High Sparrow. Interestingly, the Tyrells are using food as their main political weapon. Of course, the Tyrells also have the largest army in Westeros, along with the realm's greatest general, Sam's dad. Oddly, war threats are not on the table. Next, the QOT gets a letter from Littlefinger. Aw, damn. So next, Tommen feels there's nothing he can do to get the queen back. He feels now's the time to call in the army and slaughter everyone at the Sept. He's almost Joffrey-like. And Cersei says she's going to get Margaery and Loras out of jail. And she seems almost genuine. Meanwhile, down in Loras' birthmark, war has somehow been averted, and there is a lemon tree. The Sand Snakes and Bronn are in jail, next to each other. And I suppose to reward us for dealing with Sam's O-face, we get this scene. Now yes, pretty awesome, but at the same time completely illogical. Was Tyene counting the minutes until the poison took effect? Or was the poison activated by Bronn's arousal? Let's assume the former. How did Tyene know that Bronn would insult them on their womanhood? Had the argument not happened, would she still have given him the antidote? It seems awfully convenient. Now let's assume the latter, that it's activated by his arousal. Isn't it again awfully convenient that they had this conversation? And what a weirdly specific way to kill someone. Tyene went into battle with poison that she knew would kill her opponent on his next erection? According to Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire, men get very aroused after battle. Bronn should have dropped dead earlier. Oh well, whatever. Boobies, right? So we flash to Littlefinger, who's telling the QOT that he has a gift for her, a handsome boy. Now of course this is Lancel, so I guess he went to Lancel and said, I know you banged Cersei and killed the king, so you better fess up to the High Sparrow or I'll tell him? It's just that Lancel's pretty devout and hardliner. I'm not sure why he hadn't already confessed to the High Sparrow. Meanwhile in Meereen, Daenerys is pretending like she's above brutality. This coming from a woman who recently fed an innocent man to a dragon and forced another man into marriage. Jorah, in all of his infinite wisdom, decides to become a mystery knight. Of course, he's still wearing the same shirt and manskirt that he's been wearing every day for the last 5 years, but Daenerys doesn't notice. By the way, is this strong Belwas? I'm assuming it is. Anyway, Jorah reveals himself and is like, hey Khaleesi, you want to grab a cup of coffee sometime? And Dany's like, I'm kind of busy these days, you know, exams coming up. Luckily, Tyrion walks in like an imp and totally saves the situation. And in our final scenes, we have Cersei and Margaery at the Sept. So as it turns out, Cersei wasn't being sincere. Big surprise. Margaery is going on trial and Cersei is pretty proud of herself. But then the High Sparrow reveals that not long ago, a troubled boy came to him and confessed a bunch of things, and now he's feeling at peace. So I'm a little confused on when Lancel came to talk to the High Sparrow. When we first met Lancel this season, he seemed at peace, so it seems like it was after the confession. But then, what was Littlefinger just doing? I don't know. And our episode ends with Cersei threatening the fuck out of a Septa. I'm surprised that Septa didn't drop dead right there. But yes, that Septa is a fucking goner. So all in all, a real improvement over last week. Let's hope the episodes get better and better. See you next week.